Am I the asshole for kicking my family out after they stole my house and made me homeless? Hey, before we move on to the video, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Thanks. I grew up in a family that didn't have much. My parents always worked, or at least claimed they did, but somehow we were always broke. The lights would get shut off every few months, the fridge was always empty, and hand-me-downs were the standard. I have a younger sister and a younger brother, both of whom were treated like they were made of gold, while I was expected to make myself useful from the moment I could walk. By the time I turned 16, I was working weekends at a mechanic shop and giving half my paycheck to my parents. That part was never a request. My mom used to say, "We're a team," like that made it okay to guilt a teenager into paying the gas bill. I didn't complain, not out loud anyway. It's just what I thought you were supposed to do when your family's struggling. After high school, I didn't go to college. I couldn't afford it, and no one helped me figure out scholarships or applications. So I just kept working. I picked up a second job delivering food at night and kept working at the shop during the day. I rented a small basement apartment and lived off instant noodles. My siblings were still living at home, doing whatever they wanted. My sister had a baby when she was 19. My brother dropped out of high school at 17 and got into drugs for a while. Meanwhile, I kept my head down, paid my bills, and saved every extra dollar. I watched every YouTube video I could about budgeting, credit scores, home ownership. I didn't care if it took 5 years or 10. I was going to get out. Not just out of the basement apartment, but out of the cycle we'd all been stuck in. When I was 27, I bought a house. It wasn't huge, 3 bedrooms, 1.5 baths, a small yard, but it was mine. It was in a decent neighborhood, had a garage, and it didn't need major repairs. I still remember the day I got the keys. I walked in, sat on the living room floor with a cheap bottle of champagne, and just stared at the walls. For the first time in my life, I felt like I had done something real. I had something solid under my feet that no one gave to me, no one controlled, no one could take. Or so I thought. At first, my parents were proud, or at least they pretended to be. My mom bragged about me to the neighbors and posted pictures of the house on Facebook like it was hers. My dad made a show of patting me on the back and saying, "You've really stepped up, son." But they also started dropping hints about how small their place was, about how my sister's apartment was too cramped for the baby, about how my brother was trying to get his life together but didn't have a stable place to stay. I felt the pressure building for weeks before they finally said it out loud. Just for a little while, my mom said over dinner one night, "Your dad's job is rocky again, and your sister got a notice about her rent going up. We'll help out with groceries, of course. Just a few months." I hesitated. I really did. I knew my family. I knew how they operated. But I also knew what it was like to have no one when things went bad. I didn't want to be the guy who said no just because I had something they didn't. I wanted to believe people could change. I wanted to believe that helping them wouldn't ruin everything I'd built. So I said yes. I cleaned out the guest room and moved some things into the attic to make space. My sister brought her 2-year-old and set up camp in the second bedroom. My brother said he'd only be on the couch for a few weeks until he found work. My parents moved into my master bedroom without even asking, claiming they needed the space for their backs. I ended up sleeping in the smallest room in the house, my own house, on a twin mattress on the floor. I tried to set boundaries. I really did. I made it clear from day one. This was temporary. I asked for small contributions, help with utilities, cleaning, groceries. Nothing crazy. We even had a printed schedule for chores and a rotating list for who handled what. But that all went out the window in less than a week. My mom refused to cook unless it was her way. My dad sat on the couch most days watching TV, acting like he was on vacation. My brother never even looked for work. My sister acted like I was her free nanny, leaving her kid with me whenever she wanted to go out. I reminded myself that it was just for a little while. That family helped each other. That maybe things would settle once they got jobs or back on their feet. But deep down, I could feel something shifting. Something ugly. Like I had just invited a wolf into my house, and now it was wearing my slippers and eating off my plate. And I was still calling it family. The first real sign that things were going sideways was the utility bill. It had nearly doubled the first month they were there. I brought it up casually, just said something like, "Hey, the electric bill's kinda steep this month. Maybe we could all chip in a little." My mom rolled her eyes and said, "Well, that's what happens when more people are using the house. It's not like we're doing it on purpose." My sister didn't say anything, just scrolled on her phone while her son poured juice on the carpet. I looked at my dad, hoping for some kind of support, but he just grunted and turned up the TV volume. I told myself they'd come around. Maybe they just needed time to adjust. But week by week, the situation got worse. My mom took it upon herself to start improving the house. Without asking, she pulled all my framed photos off the walls and replaced them with old family portraits from her own stash. She threw out my shower curtain because it was too plain and replaced it with some floral monstrosity. She even went through my pantry, tossed out all my spices, and replaced them with off-brand stuff she bought on clearance. I came home one day, and my couch had been moved to the garage to make more play space for my nephew. When I confronted her, she said, "You should be grateful someone around here has taste." I was stunned. It was like she had decided the house was hers and I was just some tenant. I tried to laugh it off at first, told myself it was just her way of nesting or whatever. But it was more than that. It was the attitude. The entitlement. My sister wasn't much better. She would leave dirty diapers in the trash can for days, invite her friends over without asking, and use my car whenever she wanted. She never put gas in it, never asked permission, just grabbed the keys off the counter like they belonged to her. I tried locking my door to get some privacy. She accused me of being selfish. One night, I came home late from work. Yes, I was still working full-time while they all sat around, and found the living room full of people I didn't recognize. My sister had thrown a small get-together, which apparently included loud music, weed smoke, and someone passed out in my bathroom. When I asked what the hell was going on, she shrugged and said, "You're such a buzzkill. You're always so tense lately." Tense? I repeated. "You've been living in my house for free, using my car, and trashing my stuff, and I'm the tense one?" That was the first time we really fought. She screamed that I was trying to control her life, that I didn't understand what it's like to be a single mom. I reminded her that I wasn't the one who brought a kid into the world with no plan and expected someone else to foot the bill. She stormed out and didn't come back until the next morning. I tried talking to my dad about everything, thinking maybe he'd be the voice of reason. He said, "You know your sister's going through a lot. Cut her some slack." When I asked him if he could at least talk to mom about the constant redecorating, he just waved me off and said, "Your mom's just making it feel like home." "But it's not her home," I said. That's when he looked me straight in the eye and said, "You wouldn't have this place without us." I froze. I didn't even know how to respond to that. Without them? The people who never saved a dollar, who bled me dry for years, who discouraged me from going to trade school because they didn't want me moving too far away. The same people who called me a sellout when I got a promotion because I started wearing a button-down to work? I was speechless. The breaking point came a few weeks later when I found out my brother had invited 2 of his friends to crash for a bit. I came home from work and found some guy I'd never met passed out in my bed, because my brother had given it to him for the night. I lost it. I kicked the guy out immediately, stormed into the living room, and told my brother to get out. He just laughed in my face. "You're being dramatic," he said. "It's not that big of a deal. He just needed a place to sleep. This is my room," I snapped. "My house. My rules." He stood up, got right in my face, and said, "You really think this is just your house? You think you got here all by yourself?" That line again. Like my achievements were some shared accomplishment. Like I hadn't worked every hour, skipped every vacation, eaten cheap takeout for years while they burned through money like it grew on trees. My mom walked in during the shouting and immediately started defending my brother. "Don't yell at your brother like that. You know he has anxiety." My sister chimed in from the kitchen. "He's right. You're being a control freak lately." I looked at all of them, standing there, in my living room, telling me I was the problem. I said, "If you can't respect the rules of this house, you need to start making plans to leave. This isn't working." There was silence for a second. Then my mom said something I'll never forget. "You don't mean that. This is our home now too." I wanted to scream. I wanted to shake them. Instead, I just walked out of the house and sat in my car for 2 hours trying not to cry. That night, I started looking for a lawyer. I didn't know it yet, but by the time things really exploded, it wouldn't be me kicking them out. It would be the other way around. Things didn't just go from bad to worse. They nosedived straight into something unrecognizable. At that point, I was basically invisible in my own house. My name was on the mortgage. I paid every bill. I worked 50 hours a week just to keep things running. And yet, I was treated like a squatter, tolerated, resented, ignored. I tried to draw lines again. I started locking my bedroom door religiously. I installed a small lockbox for my wallet and important documents because money had started to go missing from my drawers. I stopped buying nice groceries because they just disappear overnight. That's when things turned openly hostile. My mom started making comments like, "If you don't want to live like a family, maybe you should find somewhere else to stay." My sister would mutter, "tyrant," or "control freak," under her breath every time I entered a room. My brother and his friends started using my tools from the garage without asking, sometimes not bringing them back at all. And then I lost my job. It wasn't my fault. The company downsized. I got called into the manager's office and handed a severance envelope. Just like that, 5 years of loyalty gone in 5 minutes. I came home early that day, defeated and panicked, and no one even noticed. My dad was watching TV, my sister was on the phone laughing loudly, and my mom was in the kitchen baking something that wasn't for me. I sat at the kitchen table for a full 10 minutes before saying, "I lost my job." My mom blinked at me like I'd just told her I misplaced my car keys. "Well, that's life," she said. "You're smart. You'll bounce back." My sister didn't even look up from her phone. I had been helping them financially for years, and now I was unemployed, and not a single person asked if I was okay. No one offered to help cover bills, groceries, anything. In fact, things got even worse. Because now I was home more often, trying to job hunt, and they resented me for that. My mom started accusing me of being lazy. My dad told me I was bringing down the energy in the house. My sister snapped at me one morning and said I was moody all the time, and that I should just leave and cool off for a few days. I reminded them again that this was my house. I reminded them I bought it, paid for it, maintained it. That without me, they'd all be back in their crumbling 2-bedroom apartment sharing a bathroom and living off instant noodles. That night, I locked myself in my room and seriously considered kicking them all out the next day. I didn't get the chance. 2 days later, I went to a job interview across town. It was a long shot, but I needed something. Anything. I spent 2 hours in traffic both ways and came home exhausted but hopeful. Until I reached the front door. My key didn't work. I tried it 3 times, thinking maybe I had grabbed the wrong one. I hadn't. I knocked, then pounded. No one answered. I called my mom's phone. No response. Called my sister. Straight to voicemail. Finally, after nearly 10 minutes of standing there like a fool, my brother opened the door just a crack. "What do you want?" he asked. "What do you mean? What do I want?" "Open the door." He shrugged. "We changed the locks. You're not welcome here anymore." I laughed. Actually laughed. "Are you out of your mind? This is my house." He said, "You're unstable. You've been acting weird. Mom doesn't feel safe with you here." I pushed on the door. He slammed it shut in my face. I called the police. They arrived about 20 minutes later. I explained the situation. I was the legal owner. I had ID. I had mail addressed to me. I had the deed in my locked box in my room, inside the house. They spoke to my mom. She came outside all teary-eyed and claimed I had been emotionally abusive, that I made everyone uncomfortable, and that I had voluntarily left and was now trying to force my way back in. The officers, polite but firm, told me that because they were current residents and I had no way of proving ownership on the spot, it was a civil matter. I needed to go to court. There was nothing they could do. I sat in my car, stunned. Everything I owned, my clothes, laptop, personal documents, sentimental items, was inside that house. And now I couldn't even go inside to get a toothbrush. I texted my mom. She responded, "We need space. Please respect that." Respect. After everything I had done. The next few weeks were hell. I lived in my car. Showered at a 24-hour gym. $8 menu fast food. I called legal aid services and started the slow, agonizing process of reclaiming my own house through the courts. The hardest part wasn't the physical toll. It was the humiliation. The sheer betrayal. I drove by the house one night and saw them inside. My lights were on. My furniture. My belongings. My life. They were laughing. Watching TV. Living comfortably in a home I had built from the ground up, while I was sleeping in the front seat of a beat-up sedan with condensation on the windows and fear in my chest. I thought about going back. I thought about breaking a window, demanding justice, confronting them face to face. But I knew they'd just call the cops again. They had one for now. They took everything from me. And no one, not even the law, seemed to care. There's a unique kind of silence that comes when you sleep in a car for the 3rd straight week. It's not peaceful. It's not even quiet. It's the absence of meaning. The noise of other people's lives moving forward while you sit there, invisible, stale air swirling in your lungs as you wonder what you did to deserve this. I woke up most mornings drenched in sweat, stuck to the fake leather of my car seat, parked in the back corner of a gym parking lot. I kept a duffel bag of clothes in the trunk. My shower was a 5-minute rinse in the gym bathroom. I used disposable razors to keep up appearances and splashed cold water on my face before trying to apply for jobs I had no address for. The worst part? No one called. Not my mom. Not my sister. Not even my dad, who I always thought was the passive one, the one who might feel guilty eventually. They had all moved on. They weren't just fine without me. They were thriving. Social media rubbed salt in the wound. One of my sister's friends posted pictures of a barbecue in my backyard, using my grill. My brother was in the background, lounging in my patio chair with his feet up, wearing a shirt I'd forgotten I owned. And my mom? She'd started calling the place her forever home in comments. So grateful to have found our peace. Like I had never existed. I tried calling them a few times. Once to ask for a jacket, it was cold, and I remembered my coat was still in the hallway closet. They blocked my number. I tried emailing. I got one reply from my mom. You need help? Please don't contact us again until you've sorted yourself out. Sorted myself out. Like I was the one who had lost touch with reality. Like I was the parasite who needed boundaries. I spiraled. There were a few nights I just drove aimlessly, thinking about disappearing altogether, taking my car and just vanishing. No one would notice. No one would care. But I didn't, because some small, stubborn part of me refused to let that be the end of my story. Instead, I found a cheap weekly motel room on the outskirts of town. I paid in cash with what little savings I had left. The room smelled like mildew, and the mattress had springs like knives, but it was a door that locked and 4 walls I didn't have to justify being inside of. And from there, I started plotting. First, I found a job. It wasn't glamorous. Warehouse night shift, sorting packages, and loading trucks. Brutal hours. Sore muscles. Minimal pay. But it was something. It meant I could eat a real meal again. I could save. I could function. Next, I got a prepaid legal consultation. I showed them the deed, my proof of ownership, the utilities in my name, my employment records. The lawyer was stunned when I told him what happened. They illegally evicted you from your own property, he said flatly. This is going to take time, but you have a strong case. It wasn't instant. It wasn't even fast. It took months. There were filings, hearings, documents that had to be mailed and signed and verified. My mother tried to claim I had abandoned the home. My sister submitted a fabricated timeline where I had been aggressive and emotionally dangerous. But facts are stubborn things. And the facts were, I bought that house. I paid every bill. I never signed over any rights, and I sure as hell never gave them ownership. They had no lease, no contract, no legal standing. Eventually, a judge ordered them to vacate. I remember standing in the courtroom when the ruling was read. My sister scoffed. My mom looked like she'd been slapped. My brother wasn't even there. He was apparently too stressed to attend. They were given 30 days to leave. The second I walked out of that building, I didn't celebrate. I didn't smile. I just exhaled, the kind of breath you don't know you've been holding for a year. But there was one more problem. They had no intention of leaving peacefully. The 30 days came and went. By the time I arrived at the house with the sheriff and a moving company, I was bracing for anything screaming, cops, maybe even vandalism. What I wasn't prepared for was what I actually found. They were gone. No note. No call. Just gone. And the house? Wrecked. I walked through the front door and almost dropped to my knees. The smell hit me first. Mold, trash, smoke, and something sour, like spoiled milk and sweat. The floors were sticky. The kitchen counters were covered in crumbs, spills, flies. My once clean bathroom looked like it hadn't seen a scrub brush in a year. Cigarette burns on the windowsills. Holes punched in the drywall. Every room was trashed. The couch? Gone. TV? Gone. Even the damn shower curtain had been taken, the second one, the one my mom installed without asking. I walked into my old bedroom, the one I hadn't seen in nearly 6 months, and it barely resembled anything I remembered. The mattress was ripped open, drawers pulled from the dresser. All my clothes were either stolen or shredded. My safe had been forced open and emptied. Even my high school yearbooks were missing. They didn't just leave. They looted me. I stood in the middle of the ruined space, heart thudding, and for a moment I couldn't tell whether I wanted to scream or sob. Probably both. But then something shifted in me. Because even though they tried to destroy what I built, I was standing in my house again. The legal battle was over. I was done sleeping in parking lots and eating off dollar menus. I was back, and this time, they would never touch my life again. I took photos of everything. Every stain, every rip, every item missing. I compiled it all and sent it to my lawyer. A few weeks later, we filed a civil suit for damages. The claim was detailed: property theft, unauthorized occupancy, intentional damage, emotional distress. My lawyer said we might not get everything we asked for, but the case was airtight. They tried to fight it at first. Claimed they didn't damage anything. Claimed I was just vindictive. But photos don't lie. Witness statements don't lie. My bank statements and receipts for the furniture, the electronics, the repairs, they didn't lie either. Eventually, they caved. We settled out of court for an amount that, while not massive, was significant enough that they felt it. My sister had to sell her car. My brother started GoFundMe pages, begging for donations. My mom? She showed up to court with crocodile tears, saying, "We're still family. You didn't have to do this." I didn't even look at her. The payout helped me hire a cleaning crew and contractors. I spent weeks restoring my house to what it used to be. No, better than it used to be. I painted the walls, upgraded the locks, installed security cameras, replaced the furniture with things I chose. I found a better job, warehouse supervisor this time, with benefits and a steady schedule. I adopted a dog from the shelter. I took my time healing. I built a space that finally felt like mine again. And slowly, I felt the anger cool into something sharper. Not rage, just clarity. These people were never family. They were opportunists who fed off my loyalty, my kindness, my desire to believe the best in them. And once I stopped feeding them, they tried to starve me. But I survived. I rebuilt. And now, they're the ones adrift. They've tried reaching out, of course. My sister sent a long message about how the kids miss their uncle. My mom emailed me on my birthday. We should talk. Life is short. Even my brother, who barely spoke to me when he was living off my dime, texted me recently. "You good, man?" Things didn't have to get so messy. I didn't respond to any of them. Not out of hate, but because I finally understood that forgiveness doesn't mean letting someone back into your life. Sometimes it just means letting go of the illusion, of the guilt, of the wreckage they left behind. They burned the bridge. I just made sure they watched it collapse.